Nico.
Nico.
Nice to meet you.
Salud.
Okay, what? What? Merci. Oh, madre mía. Bonjour. Ça va? Ça va? It's okay, no problem. Parle anglais? Do you know Tukashama? Kundian? Kundian?
Kunjang.
Yeah. Droit. Droit? Ok. Ok, merci. Tout droit. Ok. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.
Here's today's highway. These people here must live very isolated from the whole world. First of all, there are no cars around, not a single one. None can arrive here. There are small motorcycles and not everyone has one. They don't have water or electricity, of course. I don't know how many people come here. They live in the dark about everything, I think. Who is Donald Trump? What wars are going on? They don't even care. They're just here, living their own lives. They work for themselves in the fields, which is why they don't need money. I don't think they use money very often. And they don't need to know what the hell goes on out there either. As soon as the sun goes down, they all go to bed. Without light, they have nothing to do, so it's no use. When the sun comes up, you wake up. At the very end of the day, they light a few fires and huddle around to eat all together and then off to sleep. I think it's all the same here what day of the week it is. And well, just another way to live in the same world. Out there, we sure have our priorities. Out there, we sure have our obligations. And here you have totally different ones. There are two ways of living life. Which one is better? Well, I don't know. I suppose in the West we have begun to get pretty lost as a society and on an individual level. But we have safety and comfort which they would love to have here. On other hand, they don't live for work, but rather they work to live and that's it. They don't waste their lives 20, 30, 40 years working at someone else's company. Life here is for them. But if they do have health problems, for example, it's a lot more messed up. Everything has its pros and cons. I'm starting to think that a really good spot is at the midway point, that we've already gone over the top. We would go way overboard. With too much foolishness that is coming from all around, we assimilate it as if it were normal, and they are still behind in some areas. Of course, there is no good education here or healthcare either. I think that life in touch with nature is very gratifying, and I believe, it's a theory of mine, nothing more than a theory, but I'm beginning to think that contact with nature is more important than we may think. Of course, not in such extreme contact like what they live in here. I'm not getting at that either. But to be in contact with nature, with time we will start to realize the importance of that nature, or contact with nature has on human beings. I don't know how many years it's been since we are human beings. Just say 200,000 years. We've lived 195,000 years in absolute nature, and for a few short years, some people have lost all contact with it. So yeah, I don't know how silly it is of what I'm saying. We come from here, we've spent our whole lives here, and after just a few years, they put a suit and tie on us, and we've strayed so far away from our roots, away from where we came from. And yeah, I just guess so many hours in this helmet make me say a lot of stupid stuff. It's hot and there are lots of rocks. But the bike is doing great. With 200 kilos less, it would ride even better, but she's doing really well.
Bonjour. Ça va? Kendian? Kundian? 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 This? Oh, here. This? Kundian? Kundian? This? Okay. This? Bonjour. Ça va? Ça va bien? Ça va bien?
Ça va. Où tu vas?
Je ne parle français. Anglais. Anglais. Yeah. The road is good. Bonjour. Ça va?
Yeah, Kasama.
Kasama, this way.
Ah oui.
Okay. You go to Kasama? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Dans la commune Kassama.
Okay, to Kasama. Okay, merci.
What is your name?
Nico.
Nico.
Yours?
Okay. My Sissoko.
Sissoko.
Ibrahim. Sissoko.
Ibrahim.
Ouais.
Nice to meet you.
Merci.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Okay, au revoir.
Okay, bonne chance.
Combien? Ouais. Ok, merci. Thank you. Au revoir.
Whoa. What a miracle. I almost killed myself.
Voy a luchar. Bonjour. Bonjour. Ça va? Ça va?
Whew, I've really taken a heavy beating today. I've done 134 kilometers on a really rough path, the hardest one I've ridden so far. In no less than 6 hours. If I ride the motorcycle this hard every day, I won't even make it to Togo. I haven't fallen even once, miraculously. So, she is still in one piece, but yeah, the bike has suffered a lot along the way. Well, I've reached a campsite that somebody told me about in a swamp, quite isolated, with a dam on it, and it's really beautiful. They've offered me to use a wooden boat, which I'll do in the afternoon after I eat. And there are hippos here too, close by, so I will also try to go see them. I saw a lot of small villages and lots of kids around. They would scatter out of fear, which is a good sign for me. When someone sees you and gets afraid, it's because they're not used to seeing many people go by there. Therefore, it's like an authentic site, non-touristic, which is just what I like. Now I'll continue on to Bamako, which is a day or two away. It's about 300 kilometers, I believe, but seeing how the roads are here, it's still gonna take me quite a while. And I have my doubts about Mali, because I came hoping to ride farther up north, and then I happened to talk with the people, and they are telling me that practically just above the capital is already dangerous with kidnappings and such. I thought it was like people usually say, trying to scare you overboard, but I've met people myself. A German couple, for example, who have lived here for 25 years, a little further north of the capital, who have hotels and businesses there, and they are closing everything up because they're just very afraid for their safety. It must be really dangerous up there to close up their whole business after 25 years, and they're already locals. They know what's out there. And I'm still mulling it over. I want to talk to somebody else and decide. At least find someone that tells me it's not that bad to go, or would it be good enough for me to go? But for now, everything I've heard is bad news.